My beloved child, listen carefully. This is not a random moment, and this is not a normal message. What you are hearing right now has been released from the throne of God with urgency. Archangel Michael stands close, sword drawn, eyes fixed on your life, because a critical decision is being made about you right now. Heaven has opened a narrow window, and God Himself says, "You have 90 minutes." This is not meant to create fear, but awareness. Time is moving, and what happens next will shape your future in ways you cannot yet see. Hear this clearly. There is a conversation happening in the spiritual realm about you. Your name was spoken. Your situation was reviewed. Your faith, your endurance, your silent tears, none of it has been ignored. But there is also resistance. There are forces that do not want you to act, do not want you to believe, or do not want you to respond. That is why this warning comes now. Archangel Michael is not sent for small matters. He is sent when destiny is at a crossroads. Something has been delayed for too long. A choice you have been avoiding, a step you have been postponing, a truth you have been sensing but refusing to face. God says the waiting season has ended. The next 90 minutes are symbolic and spiritual, a period of divine urgency. What you decide in this window will either unlock protection or invite painful consequences. This is not punishment. This is alignment. Beloved, you have felt it already. The restlessness, the heaviness in your chest, the feeling that something is about to change, but you don't know whether it will be good or difficult. That feeling is not anxiety, it is discernment. Your spirit knows what your mind keeps pushing away. Archangel Michael is here to bring clarity, not confusion. There is a decision concerning your life direction. For some, it involves a relationship that has drained you but still holds your emotions hostage. For others, it is a career move, a contract, or a financial agreement that looks good on the surface but carries hidden consequences. And for many, it is spiritual, returning to God fully instead of halfway, obedience instead of delay, trust instead of control. God says, if you ignore this message, the consequences will be painful. Not because God desires pain, but because ignoring divine instruction always leads to unnecessary struggle. Think of a warning sign on a dangerous road. The sign does not cause the accident. Ignoring it does. This message is your sign. Archangel Michael is exposing what has been hidden. Someone around you is not as neutral as they appear. Their words influence your decisions more than you realize. They mean well, where they pretend to, but they are not aligned with where God is taking you. Heaven is asking you to separate, to choose wisdom over familiarity. This separation may feel uncomfortable, but it is protection in disguise. Listen closely now. The enemy's strategy hath been delay. Later, tomorrow when I'm ready. But God says the time for later has expired. The 90 minutes represent a final nudge before momentum shifts. What you pray now matters. What you decide now matters. What you refuse now matters. Archangel Michael says there is a battle over your confidence. You have been second-guessing yourself, replaying old mistakes, wondering if you missed your chance. That lie ends today. Heaven confirms. You have not missed it, but you are close to delaying it again. This is why this message is strong. Gentle whispers did not work. Now comes a warning wrapped in love. Do not rush it, but do not freeze. This is not about impulsive action. It is about decisive obedience. God is not asking you to figure everything out, only to take the next right step. Send the message. Cancel the plan. Say no. Say yes. Pray sincerely. Let go. The instruction will become clearer as you move. My child, if you feel your heart beating faster as you hear this, that is confirmation. If your eyes are filling with tears for no clear reason, that is confirmation. If a specific situation or person came to mind immediately, that is confirmation. Archangel Michael is pointing directly at the area of your life that needs attention now. His warning is also a promise. On the other side of obedience is relief. On the other side of courage is peace. God is not trying to take something from you. He is trying to spare you. What feels like loss now would become regret later if you ignore this call. Stay with this message. Let it settle. You not dismiss it as coincidence. You were meant to hear this at this exact time. Heaven does not interrupt lives without reason. What comes next will reveal more, and it will bring precision to what you must do. The clock has started, not to scare you, but to awaken you. Archangel Michael is standing guard, but you must choose. This is the moment where destiny listens for your response. Beloved soul, as this message continues, understand that what is unfolding is not random timing. It is divine exposure. Archangel Michael is now drawing your attention to something you have been sensing but not fully acknowledging. There is pressure in the spirit because heaven is close to intervening, but intervention requires agreement. God does not force doors open. He waits for your response. This is why this moment feels intense. The decision being made about your life is connected to authority, who has permission to influence your future. You may have noticed patterns repeating lately. Similar obstacles, familiar disappointments, the same emotional cycles returning with different faces. That is not coincidence. It is a signal that a root decision was never addressed. Archangel Michael reveals that the enemy has been exploiting hesitation. Not open rebellion, just hesitation. Small delays, quiet compromises, moments where you knew what was right, but chose comfort instead. Heaven is not condemning you, heaven is correcting your course. God says the next 90 minutes symbolize a grace window, a short season where clarity is unusually sharp. During this time, your prayers carry extra weight, and your discernment is heightened. But there is also distraction trying to pull you away. Sudden tiredness, random interruptions, urge to scroll, click away, or postpone reflection. These are not harmless. They are designed to disconnect you from what God is trying to say right now. Archangel Michael is speaking about protection. There is a shield prepared for you, but shields only activate when you step into alignment. Some of you have been asking God for protection while staying in environments that constantly drain your spirit. God is saying, "Move, and I will cover you." Protection follows obedience. Peace follows truth. Relief follows surrender. There is also a warning about words. Something you say, or do not say, in this window matters deeply. A conversation that needs honesty. A boundary that must be spoken. Silence hath been misinterpreted as agreement, and heaven is urging you to correct that. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of truth, and he is urging you to speak with clarity, not fear. You are not being asked to fight. You are being asked to be firm. Now hear this carefully. This message reached you because you are spiritually sensitive, even if you don't always feel strong. You pick up on things others ignore. You feel shifts before they happen. That is why the weight feels heavy for you. But it is also why your obedience carries greater impact. When you move, things move. When you decide, chains break, not just for you, but for others connected to you. If this message is touching your spirit, I want you to engage with it, not just listen passively. Take a moment to like this video so this warning can reach others who are standing at the same crossroads. Share it with someone you feel needs clarity right now. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing alignment over delay. And if this channel has been feeding your spirit, subscribe and become part of this growing community. Your interaction is not just support. It is participation in spreading what heaven is releasing. Archangel Michael also reveals that some of you have been waiting for a sign, thinking obedience comes after confirmation. But God says this message is the sign. You do not need more evidence. You need courage. Faith is not moving when everything makes sense. Faith is moving when God speaks. And God is speaking now. There is an urgency, yes, but also reassurance. You are not alone in this decision. Heaven is leaning in. Angels are assigned. Grace is available. But grace does not cancel responsibility. This is the balance God is restoring in your life. No more extremes. No more drifting. You are being invited into maturity, where you trust God enough to act without panic. Pay attention to what comes to mind as you listen. A name, a place, a document, a habit. That is where obedience begins. Do not over-spiritualize it. Sometimes the most spiritual act is making a clear, practical decision that honors God. Archangel Michael is not asking you to do something dramatic. He is asking you to do something honest. Before this message continues further, stay present. What is coming next will connect the dots and reveal why this decision has such lasting consequences. Hold on. This is where the meaning becomes unmistakably clear. My chosen one, there is a deeper layer to this warning that must now be revealed. Archangel Michael is not only watching over your decision, he is guarding a transfer that is connected to it. Something is being shifted in the spiritual realm that directly affects your authority, your peace, and your future stability. This is why the message feels heavy yet holy. You are standing at the edge of a handover. What you choose now determines what you carry forward. God says there has been a weighing, not to judge you but to measure readiness. You have prayed for change, asked for elevation, cried out for relief. Haven't heard every word. But elevation always demands alignment. You cannot walk into a new level carrying old permissions. Some access must be revoked. Some doors must close completely. Archangel Michael is present because this transition involves spiritual jurisdiction. There is something you have been tolerating that God never approved. You told yourself it was temporary. You convinced yourself it was harmless. But over time, it began to dull your discernment. God says this tolerance has reached its limit, not because he is angry, but because he is serious about where he is taking you. Destiny requires precision. You may feel torn because part of you wants peace, while another part fears loss. Hear this truth. What God removes was never meant to sustain you. What God preserves will never require you to betray your spirit. Archangel Michael declares that the pain you are afraid of is smaller than the pain you are being protected from. This is why the warning is firm. There is also a release happening. As you listen, chains you normalized are being identified. Old guilt, lingering shame, the voice that keeps reminding you of who you used to be. God says those accusations are expired. They no longer have legal standing over you. Archangel Michael is cutting ties between your present and your past, but you must stop reaching back. This is the moment where faith becomes visible, not through words but through action. Heaven is watching how you respond when truth confronts comfort. The decision is not about perfection. It is about direction. One step toward God outweighs years of hesitation. One act of obedience shifts timelines. God is also speaking about trust. You have learned to rely on yourself because disappointment taught you to be cautious. But self-reliance has slowly turned into spiritual isolation. God says, "Let me back in." Not partially, fully. This decision is an invitation to stop managing outcomes and start trusting guidance. Archangel Michael assures you that surrender here will not weaken you. It will stabilize you. Something must be said about consequences. The warning was clear because the outcome matters. Ignoring this message does not cancel God's love, but it does invite unnecessary hardship. Not everything is an attack. Some struggles are the result of delayed obedience. God wants to spare you from lessons that no longer need to be repeated. And now listen closely. There is a blessing attached to this choice. Peace you have not felt in a long time. Mental clarity. Emotional lightness. Renewed confidence. These are not future promises. They are immediate rewards of alignment. The moment you choose, something lifts. You may not see it instantly, but you will feel it. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to your response. Heaven honors decisions made in reverence. This is not about fear, it is about reverence. God trusted you with this warning because He trusts your heart. Do not betray that trust by doing nothing. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, this is your moment to respond in faith. Type "I receive divine direction" in the comments if you are choosing alignment over delay. Blessing code 909 has just been released. As Archangel Michael warns and God speaks, this message is not meant to stop with you. I am being instructed to tell you that when you support this work, you are helping God reach souls who are standing at the same dangerous crossroads. The word says that those who sow into good ground will reap a harvest in due season, and this ground is carrying fire. As you give, you become a carrier of light, pushing back darkness for someone who may not survive another delay. I feel led to say this directly to you. Your act of support in this moment is a prophetic response, not a donation. Do not miss the urgency of obedience. Open heavens respond to swift action. I declare that every seed you release through super thanks, membership, or PayPal will return to you pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Now act, support this mission, and let God multiply your obedience. Beloved child, as this message unfolds further, the atmosphere shifts from warning into instruction. Archangel Michael is now stepping forward not only as a messenger, but as a guide. The urgency remains, but clarity is increasing. God says the reason this decision feels heavy is because it is connected to your identity, not just your circumstances. You are not choosing between two options, you are choosing between two versions of yourself. There is a version of you that survives, adapts, and endures quietly. And there is a version of you that rises, leads, and walks with authority. Heaven is calling you out of survival mode. You were not created to merely cope. You were created to carry light, influence atmospheres, and walk without constant inner conflict. This decision is the dividing line. Archangel Michael reveals that confusion had been your greatest enemy, not opposition. When clarity is delayed, courage weakens. That is why God is now speaking plainly. The fog must lift. You already know what needs to change. The problem was never knowledge, it was hesitation. And hesitation has been costing you peace. God is addressing your fear of consequences. You have been calculating outcomes, replaying worst-case scenarios, and imagining regret. But heaven says you are misjudging the equation. Obedience does not remove challenges, but it removes chaos. Disobedience does not remove comfort. It removes covering. This is why the choice matters so deeply. There is also a matter of timing. You have been asking God for confirmation, but God says delay has turned confirmation into distraction. Every time you felt prompted and waited, the wait increased. This is not because God withdrew, but because urgency was ignored. Archangel Michael is restoring urgency without panic. Calm decisiveness is what heaven is calling for. Some of you are holding on to a situation because it once served you well. It helped you survive a hard season. It brought familiarity when life felt unstable. But God says seasons change, and tools that once helped you can later hinder you. Holding on past expiration is how blessings turn into burdens. This is not loss. This is transition. You may be wondering why this feels lonely, why you cannot explain it fully to those around you. That is because this decision is personal. Not everyone is meant to walk this stretch with you. Archangel Michael confirms that solitude in this moment is not isolation, it is consecration. God is setting you apart to sharpen your hearing. There is something powerful about what happens next. Once you make this choice, resistance will try to test your resolve. Doubt will whisper. Old voices will resurface. Memories will try to pull you back. This does not mean you chose wrong. It means the shift is real. Stand firm. Heaven backs decisions made in truth. God wants you to understand that obedience here will simplify your life. Not immediately easier, but clearer. Clarity brings peace even when challenges remain. You will stop questioning yourself constantly. You will stop carrying guilt for what you did not do. Confidence will return, not as pride but as alignment. Archangel Michael also speaks of restoration. Something that was drained will be replenished. Sleep will come easier. Your thoughts will slow down. Your prayers will feel less forced. These are signs of alignment returning. The soul responds quickly when it is no longer divided. There is also a warning against seeking validation after obedience. Do not look back to see who noticed. Do not explain yourself excessively. When God leads, explanation is not required. Trust that those meant to understand will understand in time. Silence can be a form of strength. This moment marks a shift from being reactive to being intentional. You are no longer responding to pressure. You are responding to purpose. That is why this decision feels sacred. It is not about proving anything to God. It is about agreeing with Him. As this message continues, prepare your heart. What is coming next will reveal how this decision reshapes your future path and protects you from what you cannot yet see. Stay present. Stay open. Heaven is still speaking, and Archangel Michael remains near, ensuring that what is revealed now is exactly what your spirit needs. Beloved one, there is a quiet but powerful shift happening as this message deepens. Archangel Michael is now revealing not just what you must decide, but why the decision has been resisted for so long. This resistance did not come from weakness, it came from significance. The enemy does not fight what holds no value. The pressure you have felt is evidence that your obedience carries weight beyond your own life. God says there hath been a tug-of-war over your focus. Your spirit has been pulling you toward truth, while distractions have been pulling you toward noise. Not sinful noise, just constant noise. Endless thoughts, endless opinions, endless obligations. None of them evil, but all of them effective at keeping you spiritually tired. Archangel Michael exposes this tactic now so it loses power over you. You were never meant to carry everything you have been carrying. Some of the burdens you call responsibility were never assigned to you by God. You picked them up out of loyalty, fear, or habit. God says this decision is about release. Not quitting life, but quitting what drains life out of you. When you let go, you are not abandoning others. You are obeying God. There is a truth that must be spoken gently but clearly. You have been delaying because part of you hopes the situation will resolve itself without you having to choose. But God says neutrality is a choice, and silence has consequences. Archangel Michael is reminding you that passivity can quietly agree with what God is asking you to confront. This is not condemnation. This is correction meant to protect you. Heaven also reveals that you have underestimated your spiritual authority. You think decisions must come with struggle, tears, and chaos. But authority does not shout. Authority stands. When you decide in alignment with God, you do not need to convince anyone. Your peace will speak louder than explanations ever could. There is also healing happening beneath the surface. Old wounds connected to rejection, abandonment, or failure are being touched by God's presence. These wounds made you cautious. They taught you to hesitate before trusting. God understands this. He is not rushing you without care, but He is inviting you to trust Him more than your past experiences. Archangel Michael shows that once this decision is made, momentum will return. You have felt stuck, as if progress slowed no matter how hard you tried. That was not laziness or lack of ability. It was misalignment. Motion without alignment leads to exhaustion. Alignment brings acceleration with peace. God is also speaking about discernment. After this moment, your sensitivity will increase. You will recognize red flags sooner. You will sense when something is off without needing proof. This is not paranoia. This is maturity. Discernment grows when obedience is practiced. Be aware that once clarity comes, temptation may return in subtle forms. Not dramatic temptations, but reasonable ones. Familiar comforts. Old patterns dressed in new language. Archangel Michael warns you to remember why you chose what you chose. Write it in your heart. Decisions made in truth must be guarded intentionally. There's reassurance here as well. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. God's timing adjusts when hearts align. What felt delayed will not be denied if you move now. Heaven is skilled at restoration. You may wonder why this message feels personal, as if it is speaking directly into your situation. That is because it is. God customizes His warnings. He does not broadcast them randomly. Archangel Michael was assigned to this moment because precision matters. Your future deserves clarity, not confusion. God says this choice will simplify your prayers. You will no longer ask God to bless what He never approved. Instead, your prayers will become conversations, not negotiations. Peace will replace bargaining. Trust will replace fear. There is something sacred about deciding before you see results. This is where faith becomes real. Faith is not believing after confirmation. It is moving before evidence. Heaven honors that kind of courage. As you continue listening, allow your heart to remain open. Do not analyze every sentence. Let the message settle. God is not overwhelming you. He is steadying you. Archangel Michael remains present, guarding your mind from confusion and your heart from fear. What is unfolding now is preparation. Preparation for what comes after obedience. You are being strengthened, not pressured. Guided, not forced. And as this continues, deeper understanding will follow, bringing assurance that this moment, this decision, was never meant to harm you but to free you. Beloved child, as this message moves forward, Archangel Michael shifts your attention from the internal struggle to the external impact of your decision. God says what you choose now will not remain contained within your private world. It will ripple outward, touching relationships, environments, and opportunities tied to your future. This is why heaven has been so intentional. You are not just deciding for yourself. You are setting a standard for what is allowed around you. You may not realize how much others observe your responses. People watch how you handle pressure, how you recover from disappointment, how you act when truth challenges comfort. Without trying, you have become a reference point. And God says when you align now, it will silently give others permission to rise as well. Obedience has influence. Archangel Michael reveals that the enemy expected you to grow tired before you grew bold. The plan was to wear you down with repetition, hoping you would settle for less just to avoid another fight. But heaven interrupts that plan today. Strength is returning not as adrenaline but as resolve. Resolve does not rush and decides. There is a warning here, but also wisdom. Once you make this choice, not everyone will celebrate it. Some will misunderstand. Some will question your motives. Others may distance themselves. God says do not interpret resistance as failure. Often, resistance is confirmation that a boundary has finally been set. Peace sometimes requires separation from misunderstanding. You are also being reminded not to romanticize the past. Nostalgia has been trying to soften the truth, making old seasons look safer than they were. Archangel Michael exposes this illusion now. The past taught you lessons, but it is not meant to host your future. You cannot walk forward while constantly looking back. God speaks gently, but firmly about discipline. Alignment must be maintained. After this decision, you will need to guard your time, your energy, and your focus. Not rigidly, but intentionally. What you allow consistently shapes what you become eventually. Heaven is teaching you sustainability, not intensity. There is something else happening beneath the surface. Your spiritual hearing is sharpening. You will notice that after this, God's voice feels clearer, quicker, and more direct. It is because obedience removes static. Disobedience creates noise. Alignment creates clarity. This is one of the hidden rewards of saying yes. Archangel Michael also speaks of confidence returning. Not loud confidence, but steady confidence. The kind that does not need validation. The kind that can say no without guilt and yes without fear. This confidence comes from knowing you are standing where God placed you, not where pressure pushed you. And I'll hear this carefully. If this message has been confirming what your spirit already knew, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video so the algorithm carries this warning to others who need it right now. Share it with someone who has been wrestling with a difficult decision. Leave a comment declaring that you choose obedience over comfort. And if this channel continues to strengthen your faith, subscribe and stand with this community. Your engagement helps ensure that messages like this reach the right people at the right time. God is also correcting your understanding of peace. Peace does not always mean everything feels calm. Sometimes peace means you are no longer divided inside. Even if circumstances are uncertain, your heart is settled. That is the peace God is offering you now. You may feel moments of doubt after this. That does not cancel your decision. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. Fear is. And fear loses power when confronted with truth. When doubt comes, return to why you chose alignment. Remember what God revealed. Anchoring yourself in truth keeps you steady. Archangel Michael reassures you that you are covered during this transition. You are not stepping into vulnerability alone. Protection surrounds obedience. Grace accompanies courage. Heaven does not abandon those who respond to its warnings. As this message continues, something important is coming into focus. What happens after the decision? What opens? What closes? And why God insisted on urgency. Stay with this. Do not disengage now. Hold on, because what comes next will connect everything you have been feeling into one clear understanding. Beloved one, as this message continues, the focus now turns to what unfolds after obedience takes root. Archangel Michael reveals that many people fear decisions not because of the action itself, but because of the unknown that follows. You have wondered, what happens after I choose? What if things don't turn out the way I expect? God is addressing that fear directly now. He says the unknown ahead of you is not empty, it is prepared. There is a misconception that obedience leads immediately to visible reward. Sometimes it does, but often it leads first to restructuring. God rearranges priorities, relationships, habits, and even desire so that what He gives you next can actually remain. You are not being delayed, you are being reinforced. Archangel Michael confirms that heaven is not rushing you into blessing without strengthening the foundation beneath it. You may notice that after alignment, certain things lose their grip on you. What once triggered anxiety may no longer have the same effect. What once tempted you may feel strangely empty. This is not loss of passion, it is purification of focus. God is narrowing your appetite so you can recognize what truly nourishes you. There is also a shift in how you will handle conflict. You will stop over-explaining yourself. You will stop seeking permission to obey God. This does not make you cold, it makes you clear. Archangel Michael says clarity is kindness when confusion would only prolong pain. You are learning to respond instead of react. God also speaks about endurance. After this decision, there may be a quiet stretch where things feel slow. This is not stagnation, it is stabilization. Think of it as the moment after an earthquake when the ground settles. Heaven uses these moments to secure what has shifted so it does not collapse later. Do not mistake calm for inactivity. There is something powerful happening with your identity. You are no longer defining yourself by what you tolerate. You are defining yourself by what you honor. This is maturity. This is growth. This is what happens when faith moves from theory into practice. Archangel Michael declares that your spiritual posture has changed, and with it, your authority. You will also notice discernment sharpening in practical ways. You will sense when to pause, when to proceed, and when to walk away. This is not intuition alone. It is alignment producing wisdom. God's guidance will feel less dramatic and more consistent. That consistency is a sign of trust being restored between you and heaven. Be mindful of one thing. After alignment, the enemy often attempts subtle discouragement. Not loud attacks, but quiet questions. Was it worth it? Did you overreact? Should you go back? These thoughts are not invitations. They are tests. Archangel Michael urges you not to negotiate with what God already settled. Stand firm, even if feelings fluctuate. God is also reminding you that obedience is not a one-time act. It is a posture. You do not need to make this decision repeatedly. You need to live from it. Let it inform how you speak, choose, and respond moving forward. Consistency will protect you from regret. There is reassurance here for your heart. You have not disappointed God in your past hesitation. You did not miss His mercy window. This message itself is proof that grace pursued you. God says, I warned you because I love you, not because I reject you. Archangel Michael echoes this truth with authority. Something else is being unlocked. Trust in yourself. Not self-reliance, but self-respect. You will begin to honor your own discernment instead of dismissing it. This will change how you enter agreements, relationships, and commitments. You will move slower, but sure. That is wisdom. You may feel a growing sense of calm as this part unfolds. That calm is not apathy. It is alignment settling into your spirit. When inner conflict ends, peace rises naturally. This is one of the clearest signs that you chose correctly. As this message continues, the next revelation will speak about provision and protection tied to this decision. How God covers what He calls, how heaven compensates what obedience costs. Stay present. Do not drift now. What is coming will strengthen your resolve and confirm that this warning was not meant to scare you, but to secure you. Archangel Michael remains near, and heaven is still speaking. My beloved child, now the message turns toward provision and protection, because heaven never calls you to obedience without covering the cost of it. Archangel Michael stands not only as a warrior, but as a guardian over what God releases next in your life. The decision you are making does not leave you exposed. It positions you under divine oversight. God says, "What I initiate, I sustain." You have worried about what you might lose by choosing alignment. Resources, stability, familiar support systems. But heaven says you have underestimated the supply connected to obedience. God does not replace what you leave behind with something lesser. He replaces it with something cleaner, stronger, and more secure. What seemed like provision before was often mixed with anxiety. What comes next will carry peace. Archangel Michael reveals that protection is already active around you, even before the decision is fully visible in the natural. Some delays you experienced recently were not setbacks, they were shields. God slowed things down to keep you from stepping into something prematurely. You thought you were being held back, but you were being guarded. There is also a shift in how provision will reach you. It may not come through the same channels as before. Do not panic if one source dries up. God is redirecting supply so you do not confuse the source with the provider. When alignment changes, provision often changes form. Trust the timing. God speaks clearly now about fear of lack. That fear has been louder than faith at times, not because you lack belief, but because you carry responsibility. Heaven acknowledges that weight. But God says, "I am not asking you to leap without a net. I am asking you to trust the one who holds the net." Archangel Michael assures you that you will not fall unseen. There is something else being activated, discernment around opportunities. After this decision, you will notice that not every open door attracts you. Some offers will feel wrong even if they look good. This is protection. God is filtering what reaches you so you do not re-enter cycles you were delivered from. Saying no will become easier because your spirit will recognize misalignment faster. You may also experience a testing of patience. Provision does not always arrive instantly, but it arrives precisely. God is teaching you to rest while He works. Anxiety is not required for preparation. Worry is not a sign of responsibility. Faith with action is enough. Archangel Michael speaks of angels assigned to guard transitions. Moving from one season to another is when people feel most vulnerable. That is why heaven increases coverage during these moments. You are not navigating this alone. There are unseen hands keeping things from collapsing while you adjust. God wants you to release comparison. Looking at others will distort your perception of provision. Their timing is not yours. Their path is not yours. Heaven customizes supply based on calling. What sustains them may not sustain you. Stay focused on what God is building in your life. As this truth settles, your spirit is being strengthened. Fear is losing its grip. Trust is becoming quieter but deeper. This is what maturity looks like. Not loud declarations, but steady confidence that God will do what He said. If this message is confirming what you already felt deep inside, this is your moment to respond in faith. Type "I walk under divine covering" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 1440 is now activated. And as this moment of covering is released, hear this clearly as an extension of what God is doing right now. This message is not meant to stop with you. Your lives standing at the same edge, needing this warning and this hope. When you support this work, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping God send light into dark intersections of people's lives. Scripture declares that those who sow into the kingdom open doors that no man can shut, and I feel led to tell you directly, your giving in this moment is a prophetic act of obedience. As you release through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, linked in the description, you become a carrier of provision for others, and heaven responds to that alignment. I speak blessing over every seed sown, that it will return with peace, increase, and divine protection. And now act with faith, support this mission, and let God multiply what you place in His hands. Beloved one, as this message continues, the focus now shifts to endurance after alignment. Archangel Michael reveals that many people think the hardest part is making the decision, but heaven knows that the real test often comes after. Not because obedience was wrong, but because consistency must be established. God is preparing you not just to choose correctly once, but to remain steady when emotions fluctuate. After this alignment, you may notice that life does not suddenly become perfect. Challenges may still appear, but they will feel different. Instead of confusion, there will be clarity. Instead of panic, there will be restraint. Instead of feeling scattered, you will feel centered. This is how you know the shift was real. Peace does not remove storms, it anchors you within them. Archangel Michael speaks about spiritual muscle. Every time you choose alignment over impulse, that muscle strengthens. At first, obedience can feel unnatural because you were trained by survival, not by trust. But repetition builds stability. What once required effort will soon feel normal. God is retraining your instincts. There is an important warning here. Do not mistake emotional quietness for spiritual absence. After intense moments of revelation, there is often a calm that follows. This calm is not God leaving. It is God allowing you to rest. Do not chase another warning. Do not demand another sign. Live out what you have already received. God also addresses your tendency to self-sabotage after progress. When things begin to stabilize, part of you becomes suspicious, waiting for something to go wrong. This comes from past disappointment, not present reality. Archangel Michael is healing this pattern now. You do not need to brace for impact when God is guiding the path. There will be moments when old thoughts attempt to resurface. Regret, doubt, the urge to revisit old options just in case. These thoughts are not instructions, they are echoes. Do not follow echoes. Stay anchored in what God revealed when clarity was strongest. Write it into your heart. Heaven also speaks about discipline in thought life. Alignment is not only about external decisions, it is about internal agreement. Monitor what you allow to replay in your mind. What you meditate on will either strengthen your peace or erode it. God invites you to partner with Him by choosing truth consistently. Archangel Michael reassures you that you are not required to defend your obedience. Silence does not mean weakness. You do not owe explanations to everyone who questions your choices. Let your fruit speak. Over time, Stability will answer questions better than words ever could. There is also an invitation here to rebuild joy. Obedience is not meant to feel heavy forever. As alignment settles, joy will return in quieter ways. Moments of gratitude, deeper rest, a sense of being at home within yourself. These are holy signs that your spirit is healing. God says you are learning to trust Him without urgency. That is growth. When urgency ruled you, anxiety followed. Now, trust is replacing haste. You are becoming more intentional, less reactive. This shift will protect you in future decisions as well. Be aware that blessing attracts responsibility. As peace increases, so does influence. People may come to you for advice, clarity, or support. Do not feel pressured to have all the answers. Speak from alignment, not performance. God will give you wisdom for each moment. Archangel Michael also reveals that this season is preparing you for a greater assignment. Not necessarily louder, but deeper. You are being shaped into someone who can carry weight without breaking. That requires inner order. That is what God is establishing now. You may feel moments of loneliness, even when you know you chose correctly. This does not mean you are unsupported. It means you are transitioning. Old connections may no longer fit, and new ones have not fully formed yet. Trust this in-between space. God does some of His most precise work here. As this message moves forward, the next revelation will speak about guarding what you have gained. Alignment can be lost if it is not protected. What comes next will show you how to maintain clarity, peace, and direction without slipping back into old cycles. Stay present. Stay grounded. Heaven is still guiding you, and Archangel Michael continues to stand watch over this journey. Beloved child, this portion of the message is about guarding what you have gained, because heaven knows that clarity, once received, must be protected. Archangel Michael now shifts from warning and preparation into watchfulness. God says alignment brought you here, but awareness will keep you here. What you carry now is valuable, and anything valuable attracts attention. After obedience, life often tries to return to normal. Old routines knock again. Familiar pressures resurface, not always aggressively, but casually. That is where many people lose ground, not through rebellion, but through carelessness. Archangel Michael warns that what God has cleansed should not be casually reintroduced. You are not called to be paranoid, but you are called to be alert. God speaks clearly about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. Gates decide what enters and what leaves. You are learning that love without boundaries leads to depletion, and peace without discernment is fragile. Heaven is training you to steward your peace like a sacred trust. You may notice that your tolerance level has changed. Things you once ignored now disturb your spirit. This is not weakness. This is sensitivity returning. Do not shame yourself for outgrowing what once felt acceptable. Growth often looks like discomfort with old standards. Archangel Michael also addresses spiritual discipline. This is not about rigid rules, but about rhythms that keep you aligned. Prayer that is honest. Rest that is intentional. Silence that is not filled with noise. These rhythms anchor you when emotions fluctuate. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for consistency. There is a temptation to relax too much after a breakthrough, assuming the battle is over. But some victories must be maintained. Not fought again, but guarded. Think of it like healing after surgery. The wound is closed, but care is still needed. Neglect invites reopening. Awareness preserves healing. God also speaks about accountability. Not everyone needs access to your process, but someone should have access to your truth. Isolation is not protection. It is exposure. Archangel Michael urges you to remain connected to voices that point you back to God, not pull you back into confusion. You may feel moments of pride trying to rise quietly. Not arrogance, but self-sufficiency. The thought, "I've got this now." God gently reminds you that humility keeps doors open. Dependence on Him is not weakness, it is wisdom. Stay teachable, even when confident. Here is also a warning about busyness. Activity can replace alignment if you are not careful. Doing many good things does not mean you are doing the right things. God says, protect your focus. Distraction is one of the fastest ways to drift without realizing it. If this message continues to strengthen you and bring clarity, now is the time to engage actively. Like this video so this word continues to reach those who are standing at the same turning point. Share it with someone who needs to guard what God just restored. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing awareness over complacency. And if this channel has been feeding your spirit, subscribe and stand with this mission. Your engagement helps ensure that messages like this keep flowing to the right hearts. Archangel Michael reassures you that protection does not mean absence of challenge. It means presence of guidance. When something feels off, pause. When peace leaves, pay attention. Your spirit has been trained. Trust it. God also encourages you to revisit what He revealed to you earlier in this message. Do not let it fade. Write it down. Pray it through. Rehearse truth when lies try to resurface. Repetition strengthens resolve. There is a deeper maturity forming in you now. You are learning to respond rather than react, to pause rather than panic, to seek wisdom rather than validation. These are signs of growth that cannot be rushed. Be careful not to measure your progress by how others respond to your changes. Some will adjust. Some will resist. Some will walk away. Let them. You are not responsible for managing everyone's comfort. You are responsible for honoring God's instruction. As this message continues, something crucial is about to be revealed. Why this season required such intensity, and what God is positioning you for next. You not disengage now. This is where the pieces come together, and the reason for the warning becomes unmistakably clear. Hold on, because what comes next will bring confirmation that this journey was never about fear, but about preparation. Beloved one, as this message moves closer to completion, heaven now reveals the reason this warning carried such weight from the beginning. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity and calm authority, because what you have just walked through was not merely correction, it was preparation. God says this season required intensity because what is ahead requires stability. You are being positioned for something that cannot be sustained by hesitation, fear, or inner division. There is a new level of trust God is placing upon you. Not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. Willing to listen. Willing to adjust. Willing to obey even when it costs you comfort. Heaven values willingness more than performance. That is why this message came when it did. You were ready to hear it, even if it challenged you. Archangel Michael reveals that this decision created a separation in the spirit. Not a dramatic one, but a decisive one. Lines were drawn. Permissions were revoked. Authority was clarified. What once had access to your emotions, your thoughts, and your time now has limits. That alone changes the trajectory of your future. God says many of the battles you feared will never happen now. Not because you became stronger, but because you stepped out of unnecessary warfare. Some fights only exist because of misalignment. When you move into position, the battlefield changes. Peace is not always earned through struggle. Sometimes it is received through obedience. You may begin to notice that your prayers change tone. Less desperation, more confidence, less pleading, more agreement. This is a sign that trust has deepened. God does not want you begging for what He already promised. He wants you standing in agreement with it. There is also an internal healing taking place. The part of you that felt unseen, unheard, or overlooked is being restored. God says, I saw you when you chose me quietly. Heaven keeps record of hidden obedience. What was done without applause is now being honored in the Spirit. Archangel Michael also addresses lingering fear about the future. You do not need to see 10 steps ahead. One aligned step invites the next. God rarely reveals the full path at once, not to confuse you, but to keep you close. Dependence builds relationship. Relationship sustains calling. You are also being freed from the pressure to prove yourself. Proving is exhausting. Alignment is restful. When you are where God placed you, striving loses its grip. You can move forward without constantly checking if you are enough. God's instruction settles that question. There may be moments when you miss the familiarity of old patterns, even unhealthy ones. Familiarity feels safe, even when it is limiting. But God reminds you that growth always feels unfamiliar at first. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. Sometimes discomfort is the sign that chains are no longer fitting. Archangel Michael reassures you that heaven is attentive now. Your sensitivity has increased, not decreased. You will notice divine nudges more clearly. Pay attention to small promptings. Obedience in small things preserves clarity in big things. God also speaks about timing. What you thought was delayed is being synchronized. Doors will open in sequence, not all at once. Do not rush what God is unfolding carefully. Speed can break what patience builds. There is a quiet authority forming in you. You no longer need to announce your decisions. You simply live them. This authority is felt, not forced. Others may not understand immediately, but they will sense the difference. Peace has a way of introducing itself. As this message nears its final revelation, prepare your heart. The last portion will seal what God has spoken, release final blessing, and call for a decisive response. Do not drift now. You have come too far to disengage at the threshold. Archangel Michael remains present, and heaven is ready to conclude this message with purpose, power, and confirmation. My beloved child, this is the sealing of what heaven began when this warning first reached you. Archangel Michael now stands not in urgency, but in authority, because the decision has been made in the Spirit, even if the natural world has not fully caught up yet. God says what you chose in alignment has already been recorded. Heaven responds first, earth follows later. This is why peace has begun to replace pressure. From the beginning, this was never about fear. It was about protection. God says the pain mentioned in the warning was not a threat, but a rescue. You were being pulled back from paths that would have cost you far more than you realized. Some consequences were never meant to teach you lessons. They were meant to be avoided altogether. Obedience saved you from unnecessary loss. Archangel Michael confirms that a cycle has ended. Not just a season, but a pattern. Repeated emotional battles, repeated confusion, repeated self-doubt. These no longer have permission to govern you. Authority has shifted. You are no longer negotiating with what God already settled. That is why your spirit feels steadier now. God speaks gently to the part of you that still wonders, was this really for me? Hear this clearly. Heaven does not issue final warnings casually. This message came because your life matters deeply to God. You were close to something critical, and God intervened because He intends to keep you, not lose you. There is also promise being released. What you gave up for obedience will not leave a void. God does not subtract without multiplying. What returns may look different, but it will be healthier, purer, and aligned with peace. You will not have to strain to maintain it. Grace will hold it in place. Archangel Michael declares that the next season of your life will be marked by discernment and stability. You will no longer feel pulled in opposite directions. Decisions will come with less inner noise. Even when challenges arise, you will respond from grounding, not panic. This is maturity taking root. God also speaks about restoration of joy, not loud excitement, but deep contentment. The kind that allows you to rest without guilt. The kind that lets you say no without fear. The kind that reminds you who you are when the world tries to redefine you. This joy will guard your heart. You are being reminded not to look back with regret. Everything you walked through brought you here. Even delays taught you discernment. Even mistakes sharpened wisdom. God wastes nothing. What matters now is alignment, and you chose it. Archangel Michael remains assigned to your covering. You are not stepping forward unguarded. Protection follows obedience. Guidance follows surrender. You will sense when to move and when to wait. Trust that sensitivity. It hath been refined, not damaged. This message now calls for final agreement. Type "I step into divine alignment" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 2025 is now activated. What you just received was not meant to end with you. Your soul standing where you once stood, needing the same warning, the same clarity, the same rescue. I am speaking to you directly now. Your support in this moment is obedience, not obligation. The word declares that when you sow into the work of God, you become a partner in the harvest, and heaven remembers that partnership. As you release through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is in the description. You are helping God place light in front of someone who is running out of time. I bless every giver now, that what you release will return with peace, protection, and increase, according to God's promise. Do not delay. Act in faith. Support this mission, and let heaven multiply what you place in God's hands.